Hi. Hi everyone. Good afternoon. My name is Maria Di Giammarco. I work for the camp. You've probably seen me um, in and around camp gallery stuff. Today I'm going to be chatting with Karla Kantorovich, who currently has a solo exhibition in our gallery. Karla Kantorovich is a Mexican artist based in Miami. She just finished a master's at FIU, and her solo Reclaiming Poetry is now on our gallery walls, and Carla's in the chat already. So let's live with Carla. Hola.
Hello, hola Maria, how are you?
Hi.
Thanks for the introduction.
Yeah, you were so quick.
Excuse me?
I wasn't ready. How
Yes, perfect.
are you doing?
Very good, thank you.
You look
Excited about this exhibition, excited about my new work.
you look wonderful.
Thank
Can you tell me
you.
what you're sitting in front of while I pull up questions?
Yes, of course. So this is like a collection of handmade papers. These are all different papers, like it's actually like every fragment is a piece on its own, but it's supposed to be all together. And it's handmade paper, but I integrate different kind of materials. Like this is some pieces of my old paints, paper of old, pages of old books, bark, fabric. Like I integrate all kind of different materials into my making of my paper. I have like different, like a bunch of closet of materials at home, and I just play around and I try to compose it using like different shades and colors.
When did you start making your own paper?
So actually, paper was something that I really always was very curious about, but it wasn't until now, like the pandemic, that I decided to start because I figured it's something that I can do from home. And I started and I've been fascinated by it. Like I really enjoy the fragility of the paper. I was working before with like very heavy fabric assemblages, so I'm enjoying very much now like the lightness of the paper, and I think it's like a response for me for like the pandemic. I started like working smaller in a sense, like more putting more attention in the detail, in what's more intimate, what's more immediate to us, and also paper reminds me like of our fragility and our ephemeral nature. So I'm very comfortable with paper right now.
Okay. I like that. I didn't know that. Um, so let's start kind of like at the beginning. What are your first memories of your relationship with art? Like when did you feel that spark, that artistic calling to you or in you?
Well, my parents appreciated art very much, and my house was full of prints of all European artists like Kandinsky, Matisse, Chagall, and Mexican artists as well. They had like prints all over the wall. And I used to be like fascinated by them. And when I was like around 10 years old, I would grab just like a blank piece of paper and I copy them like in miniature. I would sit down and copy them in miniature. And I think that was like my first like learning experience. I used to give it to people like as gifts. And I remember just being fascinated by the color, the combination, the composition. So maybe that could be the beginning of it.
And so when did you formally begin your journey as an artist? Capital A.
It wasn't later that I started like taking classes. You know, first I had like an excellent teacher that I would always remember, Mario Rangel. He's a teacher from Mexico, and he was like very academic. He would say that you need to know all the rules before you break them. So he taught me, you know, like still life, portraits, all the rules, you know, about composition, perspective. And I was doing that for a while. Of course, it didn't took me long where I started to break the rules. very soon. I started breaking the rules. I got into abstract painting, and I've been painting like for maybe 20 years now.
My God.
Yes. So it
What
evolved,
about?
from the painting, it has evolved to many different directions, but I formally started like as a painter.
Wow. And how do you feel now, knowing like where you're at? You're making your own paper. You have solo exhibitions outside of Mexico. You recently had one open at the Mexican consulate in Brickell. How do you feel
Yes.
about those beginnings now?
You know what? I'm really proud to be a Mexican artist. I like Mexico is like deep rooted into my heart, and like for me, also I think that was really part of what ignited the artistic part in me. Like in Mexico, I was like surrounded by art like everywhere. You would see crafts and artisanal projects like everywhere. Since like the simple paper mache sculptures, the piñatas, the even like in the market every day you would see very different kind of expressions of art. So for me, Mexico, it's like color and vibrancy, and I think that's deeply rooted into my work. So yes, of course, I'm really proud to carry the name of Mexico, like here in the U.S. and in other parts of the world that I have exhibited. I really feel very proud of being a Mexican artist.
We're proud to watch you blossom that way, like with so much pride. What about Miami? Do you find a similar, I don't know, an inspiring environment here? Like, what are the differences between the inspiration you find in Mexico and that which you find here? Do you notice any?
It's a very different environment, but like here, what I really like about Miami, like since 6 years ago that I moved here, I've seen the growth of the Miami art scene like in an amazing way. And so many exhibitions, so many artists here in Miami. I really think like it's a very good place to be an artist right now. I think there are a lot of opportunities, and I'm grateful for that. Yes.
Hmm.
And of course, also I did my MFA here, so I mean, I have like many of my teachers, my mentors that are here supporting me, so that's
You
also important.
you did. A bunch of them came out to your to the opening reception of Reclaiming Poetry. Um, whoa, sorry, I got a little lost.
Yes.
So can you talk to me about Reclaiming Poetry? What is behind it conceptually?
So for me, poetry means like really poetry is like a dance of words, no? The putting words in a way that connects you to something deeper, and that connection is something that I've been like looking for throughout my life, no? That a connection to something that goes beyond my physical being, and I think we as a society have lost that touch. Like I think we need to deepen our connection to this consciousness. Like I think we're being so busy like with fighting and focusing on our differences that I think we need to put like more energy on this field of consciousness, like where the healing is done, and this space that can only really be touched with your soul and your heart. So that's what poetry means to me, and that's what I want to reclaim. And in my art, I put very different elements together, but it's for me very important this unity, like different fragments, different pieces, but really like trying to bringing them together. It's very important for me.
Yeah, I mean, poetry is definitely much more than just something you read or something that you feel when someone is speaking. It can definitely be, and this is what I enjoy about Reclaiming Poetry, the exhibition, that it's a visual manifestation of all these experiences, of all these emotions. It doesn't have to be put into words. You could just look at it. Um, so I don't know, I think you're doing a great job of reclaiming personally.
Thank you. I'm still in the journey, it's a long journey, so yes,
Yeah.
but I really strive to get to that connection. And it's like a need that I have, that art is the way for me to like transmute my energy and process my emotions, and is my way of connecting to this deeper state. And I can only wish that my experience or maybe my manifestation would help somebody to reflect and maybe to get to that connection. And that would be really very, would make me feel very accomplished as an artist.
I think you're doing that. But I'm biased because I get to sit in the gallery, 5 days a week and look at everything that you're doing. And I get to look at all of the pieces in the gallery wall, on the gallery walls with a different lens every single day. So it's quite special. I think you've done a beautiful job, and I think you've taken a fascinating approach to like social commentary through the creation of paper, through your assemblages. You've made books, you have, these tiny little handmade paper series. It's very well rounded. And I want to know what your relationship is to space. Speaking of gallery walls, because I remember you coming in before installation. We still had the last exhibition, Feminismo de Sur a Norte, on the walls, which is a completely different show. It was all textile. And I remember you standing at the desk and you were like, I already have an idea. Like, I already have a vision. Um, and you. Hmm?
Sorry. Yes, sorry.
No, it's okay.
I really like the space very much. I felt it was like nice and cozy. So I got like the general feeling. But like usually it's not that I like planned very much and I said this is gonna be like this and like that. It's very much like a very intuitive response. I feel like I respond to the process. Like in all my pieces, it's not that I have like a sketch, and I know how it's gonna end. I never know how it's gonna end. Like I do have the materials in hand. I do have like a general like, idea of like the colors or the certain like aesthetic nuances that I want to purvey, but it's really responding to the process, responding to the moment, how I want.
So would you say that you have, an idea and you have certain materials in mind or colors, but would you say that you let your pieces, create their own destiny at the end of the day, that you're just a witness?
Absolutely. I mean, the materials completely tell their own stories. I work a lot with found materials and
Yeah.
sometimes something that I found can like inspire me to do like a completely new body of work, because of something that I saw, something that I found. And yes, it's like John Chamberlain, one of my favorite artists, told, they always said that he prefers to have the material stock than putting like his will on it. So that's how I feel. I feel it like there is like a very organic connection between the materials I use. I have like a whole closet of things that I have collected through the years, and I just connect them somehow. And I feel it's, well, for me, it's fascinating to sometimes find a piece that I had like 3 years ago, a little tiny piece that I found somewhere that connects perfectly with something that I just found today. So I really like to play like with those connections that just happen, without so much reasoning.
Do you feel like it's liberating for you as an artist not to be constrained or held back by your own vision, that you get to play, basically?
Yes, absolutely. It's super liberating. It's like a very nice space to be, honestly. That's exactly what happened when I started like doing abstract painting. I just couldn't go back, because it's like when you're doing representational work, you know exactly what you're looking for, or you have like a reference. And I just needed to be free. I just like that curiosity of not knowing what's gonna happen. It's pivotal for me. It's like a challenge that I need to have. So I do enjoy that freedom.
Hmm. I'm just thinking about what you're saying.
Yes.
Yeah, because I think my favorite thing about these live interviews that we do with all of our beautiful artists, such as yourself, I think it's interesting getting to at least peek at your process, at what's going on. When we first look at things, we're not really thinking about like, are you letting things just happen, or are you being meticulous about every single detail? Um, and it
Yes.
allows us, I think, to enjoy everything so much more. Um, so with that said, going back to space and I guess also liberty, what is your relationship with space? Because you're working with concepts, obviously you're trying to connect different materials, but you're also working with repurposing of materials. You're touching upon, the cycle of life, um,
Yes.
and all of that. And so these are concepts that are not so visual. So what's your relationship with space like?
Like time, memory are very important for me. I really am very drawn to materials that show like the passage of time. I feel there is like so much wisdom in the decay, in the old, in the rust. I also, again, as a society, I think we're always like want like the new, the fresh, and I really feel the opposite. I really enjoy the experience of maturity. I enjoy the wisdom that the elderly can give us, that all the value of like the passage of time. So I see it like in everywhere. I see it like in the materials that has been touched by nature and they have been weathered, and even like for me, whatever that has had that touch of time just becomes more beautiful. I see depth and I see layers, and I appreciate that very much. And that's something I want to convey in my work as well.
Hmm. Do you also, because we've talked with people about the work that's in the gallery now, and there's a sense of peace within the space with your exhibition up. Would you say that that's also part of the goal? Like, because these are not concepts that exactly bring peace to everybody or a sense of harmony. They can be deeply existential and make somebody
Yes.
uncomfortable. Would you say that you're approaching it with a lightness, a peace almost?
Well, like lately, my work is incorporating a lot of nature, literally the leaves and pieces
Yeah.
of bark, and I do feel like nature is something like universal, that it's healing for every. I mean, it's absolutely healing for me, and that's one of my main sources of inspiration. Just being around nature and being around like just appreciating a bark of a tree. That's something that gets me to that connection, but I would say that it's something very universal. To be in touch with nature, it's just part of who we are. We kind of forgotten our roots to humanity. We're getting like very far from that, and it's not doing us very well. So um, bringing us back to the roots of nature, it's really something very important. Like the rawness, the raw of the fabric, and the most basic elements of what we're made of. Like remember the cycle of life, honoring the cycle of life, and remember that we're part of something bigger. And we need to
Yeah.
respect that and honor it.
Have you always felt this way? Like as a human being in a world that doesn't look so natural?
Yes. Yes, you know what? I was very close to my grandmother,
Mm.
and I guess that had a lot to do with it. I think there is not a single day that I don't remember, or I don't use a phrase of something that she used. She was a Holocaust survivor. She wasn't in the camps, but she was sent to Mexico City when she was 15 years old, with the promise that everybody would follow, and nobody ever did. And I mean, she really had so much experience that, like, I just wanted to learn everything I could from her, and that's why I think since that young age, I do appreciate very much the experience that comes with like life, I mean, hopefully not necessarily through suffering, but I think there is
Right.
much to learn of memory and history, and the idea, and I started doing my books, is because I think that we should tell a different story, I mean, we could tell a different story as humanity, as human beings, you know, we could change our scenery and do a better story for ourselves. I wish.
I really love that response, Carla. That
Thank
was such
you.
a beautiful answer.
Thank you.
Um, so what are other lessons that you've learned through your work as an artist? Not just that we should tell our own stories and that everything in life has a natural beginning and a natural end, but what else?
I've learned to respect the process. You know, I used to get very angry when I overworked something. Like there was like a space of like of balance that when I already get to that space that it's like I know I need to leave it alone, and then I overdid it. You know, it happened to me lots of times. So now what I do, it's like I have like different stations at my studio because sometimes I just want to continue working but
Yeah.
the piece is done, you know. So I have like different stations, and now I let the work like breathe, and I like really I learn to respect more like this process and the intuition, and also the way through my work I've learned like how everything is a puzzle and how we like really connect the pieces, you know, and sometimes at the moment we really don't understand. And it's through time that we, looking back, understood how something that we really at that moment we thought it didn't fit, you know, it ended up being like the perfect piece that we needed to complete our puzzle. So I think also that has been part of my learning experience.
Do you find that just as there is liberty in your process, there's healing in your process?
Healing, healing for me is like that's the most important thing that I get from my work. I feel like I'm by expressing myself, I think I'm healing. And also, I use a lot of I don't know if I mentioned this, but I use a lot of thread in to bring all these little pieces together of my assemblage. I use thread, and I use like sewing as a metaphor of healing and mending, and this idea of second chances and renewal and possibilities of assemble things in a different way.
Wow. Sorry, I'm just really enjoying listening to you respond to me. So I
Thank
get
you.
like caught up in your answer just a little bit. Um, and so do you have any dream projects given the trajectory of your artistry thus far? It's Let Us Right Here. Do you have any projects that you're already thinking about that are like a dream project, or are you already having new ideas for future projects? What's up?
So many of my, I do have dream projects for sure, and mainly all my projects have to do like with connecting with community, and also like mainly like for me it's such a healing tool, art, that I really would like to use that, you know, like for more people, so through art they could be able to like heal themselves. So there is this project I started, I'm very excited about. It's community knitting, like the yarn. So it's community. And it was because I always wanted to work with the elderly. And this is a project using fiber art in an assisted living facility, working with the elderly, doing some blankets that they would then give to another community in need. Like doing like the idea is doing like a cycle of benefit through art. And I started that just before the pandemic, so it's in pause now because we cannot go to the assisted living facilities. But hopefully, I'm gonna be able to do that soon. Yes.
And is that here in Miami?
Yes. Yes.
Oh, okay. How can we find out, we in the gallery and we who are watching and we who will watch this, how can we find out more about commuting?
I guess once it's like all again on, I'm gonna be posting about it. Like Instagram is the best way that it's the place that I post the most. So I think that would be the best place.
Okay. So just before I let you go, I tend to ask this question. to almost everybody that I end up speaking to. How do you feel about the capacity of art to enact change, whether it's like, you know, inside yourself or in your community or, you know, with people who don't even share the same geography as you? How do you feel about that?
About art conveying change?
Yeah, like art having la capacidad to enact change, to bring about change.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think like it's very. I mean, it's a very visual way to represent something. So I think it's a way that you can get a message in a way that you won't forget. You know. So I do believe in art, of course, as a tool to for change, for healing, and a source of inspiration and connection.
Nice. Okay, and last question. Do you have a favorite piece in reclaiming poetry now at the Camp Gallery?
Yes, exactly. Not this one. Yes,
This one.
yes. I like that piece very much because it started like a piece of like handmade paper, exactly the ones that we have here. But then I think I like this one very much because it's a transition of my latest work and the newest work. So I'm incorporating through the fabric different elements of nature, paint. So I think it's like very good integration of everything I've done. So I could say it's like my autobiography here. Like,
Wow, and that's into our very essence, right?
yes,
I love that piece too. I'm happy it's your favorite. That
yes.
makes me like it even more. Well, Carla, thank you so much for coming into the gallery on a Monday afternoon,
Thank
and
you.
sharing a little bit of yourself to me, to everybody watching, and for teaching us to reclaim poetry, I guess, in our own lives.
Thank you. Thank you very much for having me.
Yeah,
And
thank you.
to you.
And if
But if
anybody
somebody
wants
has any
the
questions,
gallery, huh? Sorry?
She said that if anyone has any questions.
Hmm. I pinned a comment, but I haven't seen any. I haven't really been looking at them.
There were a couple, but they were pretty much, you already touched on them,
Yeah.
thankfully. And then everyone, if you want to stay tuned on the Camp Gallery's Instagram, we're going to be giving a tour of all of the pieces that are in the room at the moment. So keep your eye out for that.
It's
And I
gonna
think
be
that
gorgeous.
wraps everything up. Yeah, it
Yeah,
will be.
if you'd like to come see the exhibition in person, just DM us or email rsvp@thecampgallery.com. That's Mario. I'm Maria. We've been chatting with Karla Kantorovich.
thank you.
Thanks for
Thank
tuning
you.
in.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.